Hi guys, my name is Christine Ann, and I'm here to talk to you about my life, um, how I became an amputee, and the things I want to accomplish in the future. I'm planning on doing some exercise videos that I would like you to check out, and if you like them, please like everything and subscribe. But I kind of wanted to give you a backstory to get the why on why I'm doing all this and how I come to be doing exercises like this. Um, I am a middle aged housewife with two kids at home, 15 and 12. They're quite a handful. My husband works out of town. Um, I grew up in central Pennsylvania. I had five siblings. Um, my mother passed away when I was 13. Which is still very hard to cope with because I never got over it. And I'm sure there's other people that have been through the same thing. But I was a pretty wild person in my younger years. Um, Grew up in a home where things were good family values. I have a wonderful family. I've lost a lot with my family. I had a brother that has passed from mental health and a brother that passed from heart disease. I recently lost my father that died of cancer. And so a lot has happened in my lifetime that's been hard. Anyhow, long story short, um, I ended up being a single mom by the time I was 24. I waitressed. And at that point in my life, I was still pretty active. Party person, um, hard worker, good mother. But one evening coming home from a Christmas party, I was involved in a motor vehicle accident. I was in a Fiero, which is a tiny little car, and we hit a tractor and trailer in the ass end, and it went up underneath. And when that happened, the tractor and trailer kept driving. He thought his load shifted and ended up dragging us way down the road. So when he finally pulled over, it was really bizarre. I was disoriented. A lot of blood, a lot of stuff just going on. And one of the first things I remember is when help came. Um, Things were moving pretty quickly. They took him to a trauma hospital right away. They'd seen he had head injuries. And myself, they thought I was in better condition, so they took me to a local hospital, which was probably a huge mistake. Um, but after being analyzed, they ended up taking me to a trauma center also. When I arrived, my eye was bulging out. Um, my left ankle was turned completely sideways. My hip was broke, which I had no clue. And I was just in bad shape. So they had called the trauma people in, the surgeons, basically mostly ortho, to work on my body because it was so busted up, and somebody to come in and relieve the pressure out of my eye. And it was a long road. When I woke up from surgery, I had external pins in my ankle, which are about this long, and what they really are is pins that screw in through your skin into plates and screws that are already put in the ankle. They did repair surgery on the hip and put plates and screws in there. And there wasn't much that could be done for the eye. I have lost a part of my vision in my eye that I'll never get back, and it kind of has a cat eye. Some people like it. Some people think it's funky. I think it's funky. So how the amputee all came to about was after this incident happened, I remained home on crutches for about 3 months. My daughter was absolutely petrified of me. She was 3 at the time. And it got to the point where I couldn't afford to stay home anymore. So the minute they took those pins out of my leg, I got on an air cast and I went back to work waitressing, which was, I'm sure you can guess, pretty uncomfortable and painful. But I really didn't have a choice. I mean, you do what you want to do. You do what you have to do when you have kids. And I ended up working like that for quite a while. And eventually I got out of the air cast. But this ankle, it wouldn't heal. And I kind of accepted that that just was going to be my life. So I kind of just got my big curl pants on and decided I was going to live like this with this ankle. And I eventually moved on to better things as far as employment went. I went to a factory for a little while and became a printer and had to carry really big 5-gallon drums of ink, which was compressing on that ankle. And I stayed there for a while, and I decided that I still was not making enough money and I was working too hard to be not making good money. So I decided to take a job, and I don't know how I got it, as a cable splicer for a communications company. And I ended up climbing poles, up on ladders, all on this bad ankle. I'm sure it was just causing all kind of damage. But once again, it was that mentality. You have to work through what you have to do. I met my husband there, and after I got married, we decided that we were going to move to his location home, and I actually got a little break from working. I stayed home with my daughter for a while. His house was gutted when I met him, so I had to work every day on remodeling the home. After that, things were tight with us, so I ended up going back to work. I ended up taking a tree trimming job, always trying to get the money to help out the family. And that decaled where I used a chainsaw, I dragged brush, I got in a bucket and cut trees that way with a pole saw. And this was going on for quite a while. I worked for a long time, and this ankle just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I kept going to different doctors all over the place, trying to see if somebody could help me with this. It was about the size of a softball, and it was purple looking. It was just really distorted. Um, the pins and the plates that were on the inside of the ankle busted, and the screws and stuff actually all grew in with my muscle tissue. It was a train wreck, and I was in excruciating pain every day, and I didn't know how I was going to continue to live like this. It's depressing. It's just hard on you, you know. And so I ran into a doctor one day, and he asked me about taking the leg off and what I thought about that. And I was against it. I didn't want to do it because who wants that, right? Who would in their right mind make a choice to have that done? I know so many people that are amputees, it wasn't a choice for them. So why would you choose? But one day I found myself in a predicament where I was so angry. My daughter had done a fundraiser for her school, and it was hoagies and pizza, and a lot of them. Well, that day I woke up and I was hurting so bad, and no pain medicine was helping. I could barely walk, like to the point where I couldn't put pressure weight on the leg. And I went over to the school and picked these things up, and I got home with them. And I had a refrigerator down in my basement where I planned to store these. And I was in so much pain, I just knew I couldn't make it. I couldn't do this, and I was worried about, oh my gosh, these hoagies and stuff are going to spoil. I didn't have the money to pay for all this extra stuff. So I called some family members, and nobody could help me. Nobody would help me that day. They couldn't. Everybody was busy doing their own thing, and that was it. I was angry. I got sick of it. Right then in that second, I said, I can't live like this anymore. So I made the phone call to the doctor the next day and said, let's do this. I want to take this leg off. I said, but you have to do it really fast. Before I change my mind, I don't want to dwell on this. And the next thing I know, 2 days later, they set me up with the surgery. So I remember calling my family doctor and asking for some like anxiety drug, because it was really, you could only imagine just laying there thinking about 2 days, my leg's going to be gone. So that's what I did. I took an anxiety drug for 2 days and ended up in the hospital to get this leg cut off. I totally remember this very vividly. You know how before surgery, they get you all ready and put that hat on your head and get you all laid there. And he came in and wrote on my leg which one he was going to be cutting off. And I just remember thinking, okay, this is the last time I'm going to see my leg. Pretty scary stuff. The next thing I know, I woke up and I remember looking down, and vividly remembering how flat the sheet looked, because it was gone. I mean, there's one leg sticking normal, and then the other one was gone. And I just kept wondering how much is gone, all these questions I had. Excruciating pain. It was so bad. They were pumping me with morphine all day. So much morphine. And it wasn't cutting the pain whatsoever. I was a smoker. So I kept asking to go outside to smoke, which they granted me permission. It was kind of free pass, whatever I wanted, because I had just endured getting this leg taken off. But I went outside several times that day in a wheelchair, smoking a cigarette, sick as a dog on this morphine. I remember that evening, though, just vomiting. Just vomiting and vomiting because the pain was so intense and the morphine made you sick. But you had to do that. And the next morning I went back out for a cigarette and I ran into my surgeon in the elevator. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I went down for a smoke." He said, "Do you just want to go home?" And I said, "Yes." So, long story short, the next day after getting a leg cut off, I'm at home. A lot of pain, a lot of just emotional too. I mean, just coping with it. So we're going to talk a little bit past that point. About 3 months into this, I was getting prepared to start PT for this leg being cut off. And the first step was to do, crutches. How do you walk on crutches? And it was a blessing, but I was actually really good on crutches. So that wasn't too hard for me to do. And as the swelling went down on the stump and everything, I got my first trainer leg, and it wasn't great. Probably a mistake. Now looking back, I see a lot of things that I would have changed as far as being an amputee. Um, there was nobody to talk to about it. There was nobody to ask questions about it. Nobody could tell you how to feel. I know my family kind of was helpless. They didn't know how I feel. They didn't know how they felt. They didn't know what to do to help me. They didn't know what I was capable of. I didn't know what I was capable of. Um, and through this whole process, I still maintained that policy. Already had my second child, and I had to keep busy, keep moving. Through that process, I found myself having another child. I had my son, and I remember crawling with him because I couldn't do the leg with him. I crawled up and down my steps, carrying him up and down. It was crazy. So during this process, and getting acclimated in being an amputee and using a leg, I decided to go get disability because I didn't think that I could work anymore. And I got turned down. I was not broken enough. They gave me an excuse that I could do 2 jobs out of the county being an amputee. So long story short, it made me angry. I did not get a lawyer. I decided I was going to go back to school, which I did. I went to be a nurse. And that was pretty great for a while. I worked in a nursing home as a med nurse, giving out meds, doing whatever nursing things they needed done. And that was going great for about a year. It was hard. I hurt every day. I was swollen every day, but I felt human. And I was still taking care of my kids, doing basically everything you got to do. Then something bad happened. I got a cyst on my stump area, and it needed taken out. So I went to a dermatologist, and he looked at the stump, and he's like, I can do this in the hospital in 2 days. I'm like, no, just take it out. So we ended up taking it out in the office. He was freaked out because I sat there and watched everything. And I told him, I said, as long as you can get me to the car, we're good. So got home, and I ended up in a wheelchair for a while, and I started noticing a lot of pain in my hip area. And I thought, well, maybe something's going on with the plates and screws on that side. What actually was happening was that hip was so rotten, it was no good. I needed a total hip transplant on that side. And so I ended up getting a hip replacement, and that was the last time I got to work on a paying job. So after that recovery, I just didn't know where I fit with things, but I didn't give up. I decided I was just going to do whatever needs done, and people were for it, they were against it. I did everyday chores. I did cleaning, cooking, yard work, taking care of the babies, homework, running around, errands, shopping. This stuff hurt every day. Every day it hurts. To this day, it still hurts. But you can't give up. You have to keep going on because life doesn't stop for you. I have always been an avid exercise person. There was a point after a couple years back where I was going to the gym every day. I went for 3 years straight, and I lifted weights. I kept physical, and I've always kept moving. It's important for an amputee to do this. If you gain 10 pounds, your leg is going to be tight. If you lose 10 pounds, it's going to be baggy and you're going to rub and blister. I find myself in a position now where I'm blistered constantly. I've had a rough go of it with my leg being built. I just got a new one, which looks a lot cooler than the ones I've always had, but it still hurts. So, guys, whatever trials and tribulations you're going through in your life, if you're sitting here and it's being an amputee or just depression, overweight, miserable, you have to get up and move. Nobody's going to fix it for you. You need to keep working. I find myself right now busier than I've ever been. I remodel projects in my house. Because my husband works out of town, I find myself doing a lot of stuff that I probably should not be doing, but I do it anyhow. Just everything, every aspect of general life. I garden. I like to dance. I cook meals. I like food. Um, with these exercise videos coming up, you can see I'm not a skinny mini. It's not going to happen. I never was. I never will be. But I do want to be fit. I want to be there for my kids when they grow older. Um, just, just keep trying. Just keep working. Do the things you love, because there's going to be naysayers out there that tell you you can't do this stuff with a prosthetic leg. You can. But there's going to be days you hurt and you're just going to have to suck it up and push through it. You're going to be your worst enemy. There's times where you're going to miss it. There's things in my life that I miss that I don't have with a leg. I have a hard time walking in sand at the beach. I miss that. But do I do it? Yeah, I do. I hate that I have to sit on a shower seat, but I make it a point at least once a week to stand up and hold on to the bar and just stand there and feel normal. I miss high heels. I loved them. You wouldn't have ever caught me in sneakers when I was younger, but here we are in sneakers 99% of the time. So there's going to be some sucky parts. But like I said, things don't end with this. It's a beginning. It's just a different life beginning. So I hope this helps you understand where I'm coming from a little bit. If you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing to my page, that would be awesome. I have future plans for these exercise videos that I hope you'll watch. And I also plan on doing a video because I want to talk to you guys what it's like to actually have the limb cut off. There was nobody to talk to me about this, and I would have paid gold and gave it all to know what I would be facing as far as like the actual procedure, the different steps you have to go through. I'm on my 10th leg, or it's not my 10th, but it's probably about my 7th leg in the last 10 years, which is a lot. I keep breaking them because I'm busy. They tell me I'm too active. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But in the same breath, I'm just an everyday person. I'm not that athlete that's going to get that great leg, or somebody famous that's going to have, a high heel one. There's all kinds of legs out there. But the truth in the matter is, you don't get that good stuff. Insurance companies are super tight with their money. They're going to get you what you have for your activity level. And that's why it's so, so important to get up and move, even if it's just a little bit, and you improve every day. Because it's sad. You have to prove that you deserve to be able to walk and act normal like everybody else. So be prepared for that battle. And I hope this is going to help you guys. So thanks for watching.